Now at 5, a live look at Galveston, just hours away from the arrival of Laura, expected to make landfall at the Texas-Louisiana border as a Category 4 hurricane. You can see the weather is much different than what we saw just 24 hours ago. Wind, gray skies, and rain all moving in. Good afternoon, I'm Deborah Knapp.
And I'm Aaron Wright. People along the Gulf Coast are bracing for what could be the strongest hurricane to hit the region since Rita nearly 15 years ago.
The National Hurricane Center is warning of a life-threatening storm surge in some areas and winds over 100 miles per hour. Laura is already responsible for more than a dozen deaths in Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
This afternoon, Governor Greg Abbott urged Texans to prepare for the impacts of the dangerous storm.
Because of the power of this storm, if you are unable or do not get out of harm's way, the reality is for almost a 24-hour time period, there will be no ability for rescuers or aiders to get in and assist you in any way.
A satellite captured this view of Hurricane Laura from space this morning, an incredible perspective of the storm as lightning bursts can be seen inside.
The National Hurricane Center says it has the potential to cause a, quote, catastrophic storm surge.
We want to bring in Weather Chief Bill Taylor, who's now tracking the path of this storm.
Bill, when is Laura expected to make landfall?
You know, we're less than 12 hours away. I think it's going to be about 1 to 2 a.m., and it's going to be near Sabine Pass. I'm going with Cameron, Louisiana for that landfall, which is south of Lake Charles, which is on I-10. It's about 150 miles off the coast right now. Very well-defined eye, and you can see the structure and presentation is very impressive on visible satellite imagery. In fact, if you were with me last night, this satellite image changed a lot. We did not even have a well-defined eye like we do now. Spiral bands already making it onshore to Louisiana, but again, it's starting to take that little jog to the north. You know, it was moving west-northwest last night and early this morning, but then since sunrise, it started moving northwest, and it's still expected to take a little bit more of a right turn and again go inland right about here near Cameron, Louisiana. In fact, Holly Beach, I was looking at the tide timing, and it's not good. They're looking at high tide at about 12:30 Thursday morning, just after midnight. So that means that this storm will come in right on the heels of high tide. Look at these winds. These are sustained, 145. So it's now as powerful as Hurricane Harvey, but it still has plenty of room to strengthen. We could see a Cat 5 by landfall. 157 mile per hour winds, and it's a Cat 5. Moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. Pressure continues to drop, 947 millibars. That is really low. And the bands of real interest are right here. This is where the winds are going to start reaching 70 to 80 miles per hour for sure, and that's not too far from the Louisiana coast. All right, so as I mentioned, I think landfall about 1:30 in the morning. Then it goes right up Sabine Pass, and by Thursday afternoon is down to a Category 1, if that. That's actually a strong tropical storm before it takes a big right turn towards Tennessee. Guys?
Bill, thank you. Sandbags protecting homes and businesses boarded up. Counties in the path of the Category 4 storm are preparing for the worst.
Mireya Villarreal is in Beaumont with more ahead of Laura's arrival.
Galveston, Texas is bracing for the worst. People boarding up and bussing out.
We're just doing as they said and leaving.
Farmers move their cattle to higher ground as Hurricane Laura approaches landfall near the Texas-Louisiana state line.
So things changing rapidly here, but what's not changing is the fact that this is going to be a catastrophic, life-threatening event.
Forecasters are warning of winds up to 145 miles per hour and a storm surge as high as 20 feet, capable of sinking entire communities.
You're going to hear ranges of storm surge that we haven't heard in Louisiana since Hurricane Audrey in 1957. You're going to hear the word unsurvivable.
In southern Louisiana, the Duffy family filled sandbags to protect their home from rising water.
It's possible that it could go into doors, garages, whatever. So until the pumps catch up, you always have an issue with street flooding.
Just 3 years since the devastation of Hurricane Harvey, Texas is asking citizens to be ready for the worst.
We urge everybody who may be in harm's way to take these few last hours to get out of harm's way.
More than 500,000 people have been ordered to evacuate in the bullseye of Laura's projected path, with meteorologists warning of grave and immediate danger. Mireya Villarreal, CBS News, Beaumont, Texas.
Residents seeking refuge from the storm are evacuating to shelters across the state, including here in the Alamo City. But in Austin, those shelters are filling up. Some evacuees say they were turned away from a check-in site last night and this morning after designated hotel rooms filled up. Austin City leaders said they were prepared to take in 3,000 people. Leaders say they will reopen the check-in site as more rooms become available. Here in San Antonio, a long line of evacuees are waiting to check in on Gimble Road on the city's east side. They've been arriving for the past 24 hours. Eyewitness News reporter Jordan Foster has been at the site since this morning. Jordan, how many people have arrived so far?
Aaron, so far we're told about 1,866 evacuees have made it here to San Antonio, and that's a number that'll probably be increasing. I mean, we want to give you a street view of just how many cars are still waiting to get into this reception parking lot, and there are about 20 cars on this street alone. And here's Chopper 5 with the sky view, which really gives you a sense of just how many people are out here. And I spoke with a woman earlier who was near the front, almost on the property, and she says at that point she had already been waiting for about an hour. And that just gives you a sense of how long people are waiting once they get here. And once they get in, they still have to get through about 8 lines of cars that go back and forth through this parking lot behind me before they even make it to the front. once they make it there, we're told that's when they go ahead and receive their vouchers for hotel rooms. I mean, and these are people who, again, have been in their cars for a large majority of the day. So at times we've seen people get out, do some stretching, really just get their minds off of the long wait. And this isn't something in general, right, that's new to the San Antonio area. We've taken in evacuees before during some of their tough times, but what makes this time different than the others is the fact that we are still in the middle of this pandemic. So the city is working hard right now to find safe places for these evacuees to go where they can be socially distanced from others. And we hope to get updated numbers of evacuees into our area soon. And of course, as always, we'll continue to bring you the latest information with this both on air and online. We're live on the east side. Jordan Foster, KENS 5, Eyewitness News.
Hurricane Laura made landfall overnight with a hard hit on southern Louisiana.
And this is the strongest hurricane to hit this part of the Gulf Coast in history. And take a look. Video from Lake Charles. Powerful winds tearing apart skyscrapers there. We're already seeing the catastrophic damage caused by this monster storm.
Yeah, the images coming in are just terrifying. So let us tell you what we know right now. That monster storm making landfall as a major Category 4 hurricane. That dangerous storm surge as high as 10 feet with winds topping 150 miles an hour. And there are already nearly 500,000 people without power this morning.
Our team is tracking all across the storm zone. Ginger starts us off from Port Arthur, Texas. Good morning, Ginger.
George here in Port Arthur, Texas. We were on the west side of the storm. We escaped some of the worst of it. Just power outages, which we know close to 500,000 customers are without power. And that number is going to grow. And I'm going to tell you why. Let's go first, though, to this stunning image of when this Category 4 hurricane made landfall. See the lights on the map? That's actually Houston on the left, which was also spared from the storm. The worst of it fell in southwestern Louisiana, Cameron, Louisiana, Lake Charles. That's where we're going to see the unbelievable pictures of damage today. But this storm isn't done with us. We still have a hurricane circulating through northern Louisiana and Arkansas, even going to get into those tornado watches and eventually tropical storm warnings through later today. That outer band is going to have that heavy lightning and gusts. We are not going to be done with this for a while. Some of the highest wind gusts reported 137 miles per hour at Lake Charles. That's a preliminary report, and I think we may see even higher. Some of the storm surge up to 10 feet. So those numbers could still climb as the water still pushes, but for the most part, we're going to be watching power outages and more inland effects from this hurricane and eventually tropical storm, and we'll lose it by the weekend. TJ?
All right, Ginger, thank you. We'll check in with you again. We want to head over to Rob Marciano. He's in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And Rob, as she just mentioned, that area saw wind gusts of 137 miles per hour.
Hey, good morning, TJ. The rain has stopped. The winds are beginning to calm down, but I can tell you it was one terrifying night. At sunset yesterday, winds weren't blowing at all. By midnight, this hotel was swaying. Shortly after that, the power went out. And now debris litters this area as it does much of West Lake Charles, with significant damage being reported here. And now we have the first confirmed fatality from the governor, a 14-year-old girl killed when a tree came down on her home. And I fear we'll see more of that as the reports come in throughout the day today. Hurricane Laura coming in with a vengeance. Overnight, Hurricane Laura tearing into the Gulf Coast. You can see the winds shredding this skyscraper.
Whole building is going apart.
Making landfall around 1 a.m. local time in Cameron, Louisiana as a Category 4 hurricane.
Oh, God, gotta get out the debris.
The monster storm bringing maximum sustained winds of 150 miles per hour.
This is the ridge of the eye wall. You can see how visibility is going to zero now. Flying debris happening.
And wind just blasting us.
Watch as this RV was flipped onto its side as the storm moves in. Widespread catastrophic damage expected to be revealed. You can see power lines just littering the streets and igniting. Power surges leading to this massive fire.
1:30 in the morning, power just went out here in Lake Charles. The wind is buffeting our hotel. You can feel the building swaying.
Traffic signs ripped from the ground. Over 9 feet of storm surge reported, described by officials as unsurvivable.
The rain has started to come down pretty fiercely, and this is just the beginning.
I'm scared to death.
Over 500,000 people forced to evacuate. The entire National Guard in Louisiana activated. Officials warned residents staying in place could be deadly. The grounds of this hotel littered with pieces of the hotel, quite frankly. The sides, parts of the roof. Matter of fact, the manager telling me that parts of the roof actually collapsed. And this place is really built like a fortress. So I can't imagine riding this storm out in a residential home. And some people did it in mobile homes. We'll see how they fared. Right now, the winds, though, although they're less, they're blowing upstream. So storm surge is going to be an issue, I think, all day long today. And debris on the roadways, too. So water and debris can be very difficult for first responders to get around and start recovery. Cecilia?
Okay, Rob, thank you so much.